Today I want to talk about detachment and how it can help you and how it can destroy you being detached. Now, this is pretty simple when you see it as the creator. Many years ago, when there were slaves, there was lots of responsibilities on that slave, and detachment would have been, in a physical sense, food, where they would all come together and have a meeting and meal. They meet two energies, the food by energy and the man, as in human. This detachment occurred because bad swayed more than good. And this is just an example. The slaves would then come together, and for a brief moment of that day, they would have detachment from responsibilities. Their physical body resting, while the soul of them slaves can nourish themselves with each other. And as they eat, being detached from responsibility, they would talk and compose a way to orchestrate themselves out of this net they've got themselves into. Now, without food being a detachment there from responsibility, how would they ever get together? How would they be able to talk and to express how they feel? And then coming up with an idea of how to escape. Simply put, there is a detachment created for us. And sometimes it can be food. Sometimes it can be inside your head. But it's always there for you to use. So if your responsibilities become too much and you become overwhelmed, I would then suggest that you need to have detachment from a responsibility. For example, not using the slave one, but another one. You're working at home and you've got lots to do, and stuff starts to build up on you. You are a battery, of course you are. You're an electrical being with a magnetic heart which pulses. The endless power, the source power, but the physical body is electrical, so it tires. Low voltage, low power, too much plugged into it, too much taken out from it. You have to go back to mother to recharge again. But when too much has been taken away from you and zapped off you, and you've got too many people plugged into you, you have to create a detachment. Detach yourself from all them plugs. And food is a perfect example on how to detach yourself from your responsibilities. To look after yourself first. Because you're no good if you're drained completely. So you would come in from the fields or come in from whatever you've been doing to detach yourself from responsibility. So if a male was working outside and the female's been working inside looking after the children, the male's outside looking after the land, the female had been creating food, the male provided and nurtured and brought in, and then the female using her hands would heal with her hands the food. So when you eat it, you become healed and loved, because the female's created this lovely banquet of food and the male's gone out there to go and get it. So when the female says food's ready, you can detach yourself from everything and come and sit around a table with all the other cells. At the cellular level, you're now eating. You're suppressing the responsibilities and pushing them out to the side. And you're becoming into a now. All responsibilities are left. This is what you call the third dimension detachment. This is correct in its way. On the other scale, what would happen? This is a positive scale. This is the negative scale. The positive scale is to come away from responsibilities, to recharge, to detach from having food and detaching yourself. Now, the negative side is what food you choose. If you choose the wrong food, and it becomes a habit. See, you have cells in the body which govern your system, and each cell has a task. Each one has a command. There's a hierarchy of them. If a parasite can get inside a cell and tell the cell and then make it talk to the other cell, and it echoes through the whole body, a parasite could turn around and say, I actually like drink. So then detachment becomes drink. It could be an alcoholic drink, it could be smoke, it could be bad choices of food. See, listen, the positive side is you come in and you detach yourself from responsibilities and charge up. The negative side of this is when responsibility becomes the detachment. The responsibility is to suppress the parasite which controls your cells. You start to have a habit, and the super cell inside of your body is now looking for responsibility to feed that cell. And your only detachment from your responsibility in this act is to feed your responsibility, feed your addiction, feed where the cells are telling you to go. So then once your responsibility is done and you've fed the habit, the cell, and the cell has been driven by the parasite because of the hierarchy, you then turn to responsibility of family. But ultimately what's happening here is that you're acting and then reacting to a responsibility that you've turned into a habit. You are feeding your cell, which your cell is listening to the parasite. Do you see the decline which can happen there? So imagine dad comes home or mum comes home and they want to drink alcohol. They use detachment as it was before, and they found something fitting inside of them when they were detached from the first time. And they've enjoyed one part of it because they chose the wrong. And they're in drinking, then they're drinking, then they're drinking, and then what happens is the responsibility becomes the detachment from responsibilities. Do you see that? So this is the third dimension, detachment. Food is there to bring you together, to detach you, because there's no point walking on this earth and working and working and working and working and not having laughters and fires and bonfires to bond together. There's no point not having that time of detachment. Like when music plays, it detaches you from responsibilities. Do you see that? These responsibilities are with you when you go to bed, and they're with you when you wake up. They drive around with you all the time. So you have to have a form of detachment from them. But choose healthy, choose together. Choose on your own, choose the right thing. Don't choose the wrong thing, because your responsibility will be feeding the addiction. So, let's go to the next dimension of detachment. Listen here now. People talk about becoming breatharians and fruitarians, liquidarians. This is correct. In all manners is correct. But what happens if you're in an environment where they're not all the same? Everyone's different. I would then say to you, teach yourself to create inside of your own head your detachment. If you can manifest and create your own reality from the ether, so it comes into as a thought, like a hiccup, comes into your thoughts, come from spirit, and then you start to create something inside of your head, and you start to write it down with emotion, and then you try to talk to people about it, and then you create it physically. You've just tapped in to the other dimensions, and you've created it in the third dimension. Do you see that? You created your reality from another dimension, but into this one. The same how you came down when you fell out that star. I say you fell out the star, you didn't fall out. It was a portal. You span out, span down onto this plane. So, when you get into a position, you can even do this if you want to become a breatharian or fruitarian or choose better thoughts. Do you not think it's a great idea to reverse the idea of creating your environment in heaven to the promised land? You can create this yourself. You and your partner could sit there and talk. Your detachment can be this, together or on your own. Walk to a place, sit down, do your breath work, fill your body with the spirit. More spirit, better thoughts, better clairvoyance. You do your breath work, and then what I want you to do then after that is create your promised land. You're just reversing it. Now you're coming from physical this time, and you're going up and creating yours. Not downloading, you are uploading. Because if you die and you haven't done this, you will probably have to go through the whole process again. But if you die and you've already created your promised land, where do you think you're going to go first? You're going to go to your promised land, and you can wait there for eternity for all your loved ones, but get them to see your promised land. All colours, everything you can describe, can be heard. So you and your partner would sit down, or you on your own, or you and your family would sit down, close your eyes, and talk yourself through your promised land. Do you walk through woods? Is there anything in the woods? Are you on the sea? Have you got a house there next to the lake? What colours can you see? Because every word you can say, we can all put images in our own head. We can be with you and work on it, and then advance it. Is there a stream? Which way does it flow? Is there a house? Look how powerful you are there. Do you know that you become one because you can create the house with a thought? You can pick up a tree, turn it around, flick it, and you can create your house. You can change the colour instantly. Do you see that you are one? Your atoms are one. You've all got the energy to do this. You can even have the idea of cooking, but you'll never be eating. You can grab a hold of your door and become one with the door. When you go into the lake that you have at the side, if you have one, as you step in, you lose your legs to the energy because you become one with the lake. Create your promised land. This is a different form of detachment. And talk to someone else about it, someone close that you want to be there with. So when you pass away, you've got a place to go to, safe house. Detachment is key. Don't fill yourself up and drown for emotions and responsibilities. Just detach yourself. The only full thing that you need here is your heart needs to be full of experiences and thoughts, the tree of life. All of them, the running, the laughing, the giggling. You just push the responsibilities to the side. Detachment is love. Because the whole point that you're all sitting together and you're having food is a hardwired system of love. The laughing, the giggling, the music. Detach. Charge up. Become positive. Charge it. And think of all the colours and all the round atoms inside of you are one, and they all talk to each other. You vibrate. A shadow will never show it's struggling, even if it was lifting or carrying, or if it was upset. That's the true you. You are a prism of light, and you reflect. Squint your eyes to the sun and you can see your prism of who you are. The prism of light radiating. Take care of yourself. And make sure you have time for detachment. But don't go too far with it. Because we do need to make heaven on earth. And without you realising it, you're more amazing than you realise. And you create that promised land inside your own head with whoever you want. And become breath. And let that tree grow. And let it filter down to one. Let go of other stuff. Love, live, and empathize. Love you loads.